And welcome to No Summit Required Podcast, a podcast where we talk about nothing. And now here's your duo host, minus one, Audrey Ember, who's working. We promise she'll be back at some point. Anyway, give it up for Romina with the good hair coming in from the Star Trek Enterprise. And of course, your Dark Lord of the Interwebs, Roberto Blake, coming in from his man cave. Welcome to the No Summit Required Podcast. Please like, subscribe, review, and do all the things.
Bruh.
Bruh, that bruh is so loud.
I tweaked the board a little bit. It'll be
It's
fine.
a bruh moment indeed.
So we have a lot of things going on the internet. Like YouTube's crushing it. YouTube just keeps getting better and better, and it feels like every other platform just gets worse and worse.
Oh, is that what you're thinking?
To a point.
What's happening with YouTube?
Well, YouTube, as you know, updated their app, and it looks better than ever. It's clean as hell. It's nice. They sorted out.
Oh yeah.
The live shorts and views tabs, so that's really cool. The mobile app got an update, web got an update. They're doing all kinds of cool stuff with that. Shorts is getting better and better. Like they figured out the short algorithm.
So what's going on with shorts? Because I actually
better shorts algorithm. Shorts are coming up in searches now. Relevant shorts are coming up in searches now. So there's now even more ways to watch content. You can choose. Well, now you have a choice of, do I want to watch a long form version of this thing I searched for, or do I want to watch a short of this thing I searched for? So that's kind of cool. Shorts are showing up in Google searches. So, and like I said, the algorithm is getting better. They're gonna run ads soon, and then like people will make money on them, so that's cool. So more creators are making shorts, and so we're getting like a variety of stuff. The quality and like it's like there's enough cool short stuff to watch versus being on TikTok and YouTube in general, and its shorts. I feel it's like much more wholesome than TikTok. So I just feel like
how often are you consuming shorts?
I more so like in the morning or when I'm like trying to go to like I watch long form stuff to fall asleep, to be honest. So it's like it's like shorts is something that sometimes at night I'll scroll through, but then I'll just like go to something long and then just use that to go to sleep, because you would have to theoretically actively still keep scrolling through shorts. So for me, shorts is something like maybe in the morning that I go through or something like that, or when I'm a passenger in a car or something, or Uber, I'll do that. But I'm consuming more of it because I'm finding some shorts that I find interesting, and it's opening me up to new content creators that I wouldn't have watched on my own. So like that's kind of always that it returns the element of randomness to YouTube that's missing from regular content.
I see. I'm not really much of a shorts.
I wasn't either. I was against it, and they won me over.
Oh wow. Okay.
But also people share shorts with me, and then it's like, so
you get sucked in?
Yeah. Like, but that's a good thing in a way, because again, now I don't have to, like, now less people are sending me TikToks, and I find more people are sending me shorts, because I don't really like TikTok as a platform. So I like that people are sending me shorts now, and I like that content is finding its way into these things. Mixed feelings about it on Instagram with Instagram Reels, mixed feelings there. Instagram updated its interface lately, but it's like Instagram's interface is still not where it needs to be.
Yeah. It seems like they're prioritizing things that people don't want is the general consensus that I'm getting.
I'm glad that now you can schedule post and reels and stories, so that's pretty good in app without a third party. So it's good they did that, and they updated the web interface to where now it does stretch out to your full desktop, so that's nice. But there's more they can and should do. I mean, like, for one thing, if you log into the desktop, you can't really get to like your analytics tab. They don't have an analytics tab for you to look at your analytics,
right,
like you would in your app. So like that kind of sucks. If you wanted to, like, you should be able to do everything from the desktop that you do in mobile, just like you do with YouTube. It's like, and if you can't do that, it's kind of a crappy app.
Right. I mean, but they've been updating the Instagram, because so I don't use Instagram on my phone. I don't have it on my phone, actually.
Good for you.
And it's been like over a year or more since I did that. And so I use it in my browser. So I do log in on my phone in my browser if I want to check DMs or something like that.
Yeah.
If I want to post, then I have to download the app. I download the app and then I post.
And then you delete it again.
And then I delete it again. And so I actually do have stuff to say about the desktop website of Instagram, because it is my avenue for using the platform. And I like some of the changes that they've made, but like they definitely released it in super beta. Like there's so many bugs. And this is like I use it. I
Right.
log in very frequently, and so many bugs. But I will say that I do like the new layout. It feels more like a desktop platform as opposed to a mobile website
Yeah.
that is trying to fit on a laptop screen.
Yeah. No,
But
I'd
it is
agree with that.
interesting. Like some of the changes that they've made have been kind of interesting, and I see that they're putting in an effort to try to make it desktop friendly. But obviously, that's very low priority for them because the majority of their users are using it through the app on their phones.
I get that, and I get it's not the priority. It still feels like an excuse, though, from their as far as them, because
Yeah.
there's no excuse not to. There's no excuse
No, I
in
mean, we're talking
2022.
about a billion-dollar company, right? So what?
Exactly. And by the way, Twitter, for all the crap that Twitter gets,
Mm,
there's nothing you can do on Twitter mobile that you can't do on Twitter desktop.
that's true. These are
Right.
facts. Yeah.
These are facts.
Yeah. I'm actually tweeting about us right now, letting everybody know that we're live. By the way, everybody should follow us on Twitter if you don't already. We're at No Assembly Pod. Super cool. So yeah. I'm tweeting about us right now, Roberto. I don't know what you're doing.
I'm looking at Twitter.
What are you doing on Twitter?
I'm just looking at Twitter. I was just scrolling Twitter because, like, here's the thing: people on Twitter
Yeah.
are being extremely melodramatic. Like they're being absurdly melodramatic about like the entire whole Twitter thing, about like Elon buying Twitter verification. Now, I'm not saying that Twitter verifications have not been a crapshoot. Like it's been really not executed well at all with the $8 verification versus those of us who were had verification
from
before that.
before.
Yeah, I think I've been verified since like 2014, 2015. And yeah, you can click on the notification and see how someone's verified and know, oh, they're a verified for their notability and for what they do, and versus, oh, they're a Twitter Blue user. I think they could have just literally color coded the check mark and that would have been the end of it.
Yeah.
Which I think is the thing that makes the most sense to do.
Right.
But here's the thing. In general, when you have new leadership with anything, it's move fast and break things. And that's how startups are. That's how startup culture is. That's how tech is.
Right.
Tech is move fast and break things. Happens all the time, or it used to back in my day. Like like this stuff would break all the time. And even up until recently, YouTube would break every October. The entire website would break every October for the last 5 years or more. Like, I mean, you remember this, right?
Right.
Oh, YouTube
Yeah.
down every October. Every October, there's always data outages. There's always glitches. There's always problems. It's never perfect. I've talked for years about the platform stability of YouTube and being the biggest issue. And I mean, of all the platforms, YouTube is the two platforms who have their affairs in order are YouTube and LinkedIn. They're YouTube and LinkedIn. LinkedIn's the most profitable social network. And it's the only they're both owned by megacorps because LinkedIn's owned by Microsoft and YouTube's owned by Google. So they have the most longevity, stability. They're not going anywhere, and they have a parent company that's above them. Facebook itself is purely a social network and doesn't have, aside from your advertising business, has no other ancillary business. So the thing is, they could disappear. I mean, I don't think they would, but they, like, Mark Zuckerberg has lost so much money on the metaverse, like $500 billion, I think. Like, it's bad. So they could go under. They could legit go under. Snapchat could absolutely go under. Tumblr's owned by Yahoo, but let's be real, it's not impossible for Yahoo to go under. Like,
I'm surprised they're still around.
To be honest, I'm surprised they haven't scrapped Tumblr, and I'm surprised Yahoo is still alive and kicking.
I mean, the fact that people still use Tumblr is beyond me, but I guess you are people where your community are. I mean, I guess. Culture.
But it's like, it's a total thing. It's a total, like, nest for predators. I mean, it's like.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, we had MySpace, and it's like, and that was a fairly strong community. And it's like, well, you know, it met its end.
Facebook killed that.
It met its end, and for some reason, Tumblr is still kicking it. I mean,
Tumblr is about to introduce, like, official adult content. Like,
Tumblr's owned by Automatic now.
Is Automatic the company that sits above WordPress?
Is it? I didn't know that. I don't.
The WordPress company. Yep, the WordPress company. Yep. Oh. See, I know my stuff. I just didn't know that Automatic acquired them. Well, good for Yahoo for ditching them.
And WordPress is picking up the trash.
Oh my God. That's a mistake. And the thing is,
Ask Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves was legit. Ask Jeeves was legit. Can you still?
Apparently it is still a thing. Ask Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves was legit back in the day.
Dude.
Oh, wow. You know what? Ask Jeeves became
Ask.com. That's right.
They got rid of Jeeves. They fired good old Jeeves.
Yeah, he's not there to answer.
I remember.
I would have asked the stupidest questions. I just wanted to have a conversation.
But it made you curious, though, right? Like,
yeah. What a business model. I mean, clearly it didn't work after a while, but it's fascinating that they've managed to buy this brand and then they still keep it alive somehow. I mean, one of the things is like even with WordPress, like, I'm surprised with WordPress myself, but I guess it's just because I don't use WordPress anymore. Because I got rid of it completely, but
I only have it for my main RobertoBlake.com website, and that's like one I paid to have it like built, and I've got it relatively locked down, but it's like, to be honest,
WordPress is a chore.
It's a chore. I kind of wish that it was Squarespace. I kind of wish that it was Squarespace at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't keep WordPress updated, the amount of hacks that you get through the back doors, like, it's incredible.
I have it set for those auto updates. Plus, I also pay a certain amount every month for something called Sakuri. So I have monitoring. I have active monitoring on it.
I know, and it's all that extra stuff that makes it tolerable.
And in my head, I'm like, if it wasn't for all my URL redirects needing to be what they are, because I've set up like affiliate links and stuff over the years, and YouTube redirects and stuff like that, is the reason I haven't changed. But if I could, like, guarantee that I could make all my redirects perfectly work and just have it be Squarespace, I'd probably be on Squarespace right now.
I mean, that's essentially what I did. I had a bunch of WordPress websites, and I was doing WordPress websites for clients as well. And then
I used to do that, yeah.
And then I started to use Squarespace, and I was like, oh, I'm out of business. Like,
I guess I'm kind of glad that I have it, just because it keeps my skill set sharp, and it means that I still write lines of code every now and again. So it's like, but I just prefer these things. Like, I love that I have Shopify. I love that I have Kajabi.
Right. The thing is that, like, some of
Shopify,
these
Kajabi, and Squarespace,
and
and Wix.
Squarespace.
Even Wix.
Well, the thing about these platforms is that they seem expensive, right? To someone who doesn't really know too much. Like if you tell them the price of like having a WordPress as opposed to having a Squarespace website, um, on the base level, right? We're not talking about all the bells and whistles in order to keep WordPress polished, but if you compare the rates, I mean, like Squarespace is like I don't know, $300 or something like that for like the year or something crazy. Like people
200 something.
and like it seems like it's expensive because it's a lot more than a lot of other platforms, but when you think about it, you're paying for customer support. And
And
that is
security, and it's the cost of it's saying, okay, I
it's
will not have a Starbucks coffee every week, and that's the cost.
right. And then you're essentially paying for a better product for something that you don't have to think about. Like I never worry about anybody hacking into my website ever. Like that's just not something that I think about. With WordPress, it was something that like it was just like this constant like I had to be on it all of the time. Um and like at that time I couldn't like there weren't any of these services and there wasn't like I wasn't able to hire somebody to just manage it for me.
Yep.
And so I had to do it myself and because of that it was a chore. It was homework all of the time. But that being said, I think it is worth it to pay extra for a platform if they're delivering the goods. Which I guess kind of brings us to this topic of Twitter and paying for our services and verification badges.
I don't have to, so that's the good. Like, I'm just like I've been verified for a while. I mean, like, sounds like a flex, but it's just like nope. And now I'm verified on
Yeah.
Instagram, so it's like, like. But here's the thing: in my mind, Twitter Blue and verification
Mhm.
should all start to follow similarly to the pattern of LinkedIn Premium and YouTube Premium. It used to be called YouTube Red. I liked when they called it YouTube Red, and
Yeah.
I feel like that's what it should be. I
Mhm.
really do. I also feel like if they're gonna have people pay, because like the debacle and the thing with verification now is that they have a bunch of people actually doing impersonation and being believed because they can pay for the verification and stuff like that. And people are willing to sacrifice their account and some money for a joke, apparently, or to prove how bad it is or whatever. And the thing is, I don't think that they should have stopped the requirement for ID. You know that my stance is that
Mhm.
anonymity is not necessary in the modern internet for 99% of people. 99% of people have no reason for anonymity. And what I mean by anonymity, I'm not talking about everyone in the public knowing your name. I'm talking about the company knowing your name. I'm
Yeah.
talking about I believe with my whole heart and chest that social media platforms should know who their customer is. There's only 3 regulations I actually want for social media companies. And it's very similar to what they had to do with crypto companies, but here's what I believe. I believe first of all we need a data bill of rights. And one of the things that should be in that data bill of rights is that they should not be allowed to delete your account without giving you access to all of your data because you should own your data, not the platform.
Right.
So I believe that. And I
Mhm.
believe upon request, you should have access to your data at any point and be able to get it within 30 days. So I think that's part of a data bill of rights is that the consumer owns their data. The consumer, the producer, they own their data. Period. I don't care how big your account is, how small, you own your data. You should be able to get it whenever you want it, and they can't delete your account without giving you your data. And
Mm.
that's that. So I believe that. That's number one. Number two, I believe the other thing is that if they are going to delete an account, they should have to cite specifically the instance of the violation of their policy and what the policy is and when and where you violated and should give you an appeal process. And they should have to do that. And they should be government mandated and regulated into having to do those two things. And the third thing I believe is they should have to know who their customer is. And if they, and so I think that anyone who doesn't submit their ID to the platform and say, here's my ID, I'm a real verified user, I believe that those users' reach should be
Mhm.
limited. I believe that if you're not a verified human, if you're not a confirmed human user,
Yeah.
I think your reach should be limited and you should never go viral. You should never have the opportunity to go viral if you're not willing to be accountable and have the company know who you are. The public doesn't have to know who you are, but the company should know who its customer is. If it's going to distribute and disseminate you in a viral manner, it shouldn't do that for somebody who has no accountability and who can't be tied to what their actions or what they say. And I believe that those things are necessary for a free and fair internet where people are held accountable. And if you believe in accountability, you should care about those things. And if you believe in free speech, you should care about those things. And that should be the beginnings of part of a data bill of rights for consumers and holding these platforms accountable and us taking our responsibility as publishers. The platforms are going to be utilities. The platforms are going to be platforms. The platforms are not publishers. Well, I think this makes it to where the platforms aren't publishers and honors Section 230. And I think that the government shouldn't give the platform Section 230 protections if they won't do these three things. Because if you own your data, then, okay, you're the publisher. So that's cool. Yeah. And the thing is, if they're going to stop you from being able to publish, they have to cite what policy you broke, because then they're not doing extrajudicious editorial control. They're not overstepping some boundaries here. They're doing this to be in compliance with the government at that point. So that's appropriate. So now you can say they don't have editorial control over the publishing if they're having the appeal process and they have to cite the reason why. So before they take down your content or take down your accounts. And then if they have to know who their customer is, they can say, hey, we aren't accountable for what these people say, but if you need to hold them accountable, here's who it is. If you subpoena us, or if you here it is, we can't feign ignorance, or we don't have to do some IP logging. No, we know exactly who our customer is and what they published, and here you go, officer. And that's
officer.
And the thing is, if you're or judge or whoever, and if a platform is not willing to do that, then they don't get to Section 230 that protects them from liability and lawsuits. And the thing is, if a consumer isn't willing to do that, then they should accept having a limited account. That's what I believe.
Yeah. I think that the plan is for legacy verification to disappear.
Why is that, do you think?
Because Elon said that.
Do you think that, because here's the thing, if that's the case, you could argue that it's a shakedown. You could argue that it's a shakedown. Yeah. Because it's requiring money.
Right.
I don't think it should be a shakedown. And I think that even if you're going to say you have an opportunity to be verified in exchange for this, I think it should still have ID tied to it.
Yeah, I still think that having some kind of, I think the plan is to eventually have some kind of wallet tied to Twitter.
That one doesn't bother me. I'm like,
I feel like this is what I think this is like the long-term plan, and I think that's why they're paving the way for people to put in their credit cards.
To use the wallet, you have to definitely have an ID at that point, because now you become a financial platform.
Right.
If you become a creator-based platform where people want to monetize, you have to submit an ID because you want the revenue, and then that's going to be taxed.
Right. And I think that it's a lot simpler to ask for people to give their credit cards than it is for them to give their ID for a social media
platform.
Insane. I know it is. And I think that this is just a way to soften that a little bit.
But the exchange is them buying what they view as status, even though it should be a utility.
Right.
But it's that play on them. Yeah. I don't like his rhetoric about the Lord and peasant thing and everything, even though I'm your Lord, I'm your Dark Lord. But I think that rhetoric is disingenuous. I can criticize Elon and still be an Elon fanboy. I can criticize it because I think it's disingenuous. Because
it still kind of is a Lord and peasant thing, isn't it?
It is,
because it's like if you can't pay $8, then you're not a lord.
You're absolutely a peasant.
You're not a lord.
You're for $8 you too can be a lord. $8 a month for the low price of $96 a year. You can own your plot of Twitter land and be a lord.
Yeah, I bought my check mark for the meme.
Yeah, but So you're no longer a peasant. Like,
No,
congratulations.
exactly.
Welcome to the nobility.
Yeah, I'm a
Welcome to
lady.
the court.
I'm a lady.
Yeah, you're a lady. Lady of proper bearing. Congratulations on jumping class.
Listen, I've been on the platform for 15 years. I've created so much value for the platform, and
Agreed.
the platform has given me a lot of value. So,
Facts.
what's $8?
I think that if you had applied in the old days, you could have been verified.
I never was.
Did you apply?
Yeah, I did
How many times? Huh.
multiple times. And I even had people who know people at Twitter, and they
Mhm.
were trying to help me to get it, and it just never happened. Even though I had articles and I was like doing press tours, like stuff was
You're
happening,
verified on YouTube.
and I'm verified on Facebook.
Because like you were OG enough YouTube to get verified before they made it 100K.
I'll tell you
At
what.
least with YouTube now they have a very clear, okay,
Yeah.
here's what it is, and it's gate kept by like
Well,
get to this level.
it doesn't even matter anymore, Roberto. I'm
Mhm.
verified now.
True. What the thing is, I just feel that platforms should be more transparent about
Mm.
what the standard for
No,
everything is.
I absolutely agree. I think there should be more transparency in regards to, I think that if somebody is using a platform and has influence, let's just lay it as that, has influence, which you already do by being on a platform and putting
Actively.
information out there.
Yeah.
Um, I think that you shouldn't be anonymous.
I agree. I think that you shouldn't be. I think that you shouldn't
Now,
have not
that's not to
complete.
say that I can't have
That's not to say you have to be doxxed. I'm saying it's just like
right.
we have to know that the platform at least knows who you are, so that you can be held accountable.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, you could spin up a sock puppet account, make it as popular as you want, and then someone has to play internet detective and to figure out who you are, and they could
Yeah.
get the wrong person along the way. So there's collateral damage along the way. If the platform just knows who you are and something's a real problem, then it can be handled.
Now, what happens if you have multiple accounts? Like, let's
Here's
say
the
you
good
have
news.
multiple
If you
sock
have
puppets.
multiple accounts, the thing is you wouldn't be able to have multiple sock puppet accounts because, well, I mean, if everyone has to submit ID or their account is throttled, then they'll never be viral. If someone can never be viral, it actually doesn't matter if they have a bunch of sock puppet accounts because their reach is limited and they can't spin up hate campaigns with a bunch of worthless accounts that have no followers. That wouldn't really work. And here's the other thing you have to do: get rid of algorithmic trending, but also not let internal staff curate trending. Like, get rid of algorithmic trending and don't let internal staff curate trending, not to the extent of anything that is, let's say, political in nature. Staff can curate entertainment, fine. Staff can curate sports, fine. But also, they better be logged on their curation choices so that you know who to hold accountable for that internally.
Yeah.
And and I think with Elon that could work because again, there was a laissez-faire culture, and let's just
Mhm.
be honest about it. It was very, very much a one-sided culture politically within the organization, being that it was
Mhm.
like in San Francisco or whatever.
Yeah.
So the the reality is, yes, have a content moderation board, fine. And if you're going to have curated trending, no more algorithmic trending, and at least not auto algorithmic trending, have some hybrid of algorithmic qualifiers for
Mhm.
then a curated trending, but it's not completely at the discretion of just staff. It has to then go through a final approval by somebody in senior leadership to judge for biases,
Mhm.
and then it can be, in this it's a slower process and everything like that. But
Yeah.
here's the thing: trending is not that important. Now here's the thing: well, another way we could do it is very simple. We could have a trending and it not be fully algorithmic, but
Mhm.
here's what you could do, and I think this would make sense. In the trending / explore tab, I hate to break it to you, you can have the news section, but it shouldn't be all politics. It should be less than 20. It should be 20% or less if it's going to be there. And just eliminate most of it. The worst thing about Twitter is political Twitter. If you nuked I'm not saying you have to, but let's say
Yeah.
you nuked political Twitter tomorrow.
But that's the
None of this
reason we're
matters.
all there, Roberto.
No, it's not. I'm there for Star Wars and for YouTube and for content creation and for money.
Are you following Star Wars accounts, Roberto?
Yeah, plenty of them.
Are they funny?
Usually. And if we get into arguments, it's fandom arguments.
Those are the worst.
It's we got Lucas Star Wars versus Disney Star Wars, so it does get toxic. So but at least it's meaningless. At least it's meaningless.
Right. Yeah. Of course. I mean, unless it's not meaningless. But
yeah, well, you know what I mean. It's not gonna. The global impact to it is not that meaningful.
Yeah. Only individual feelings are hurt.
Exactly so. And it's like it doesn't have real world repercussions. There's no real
most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Like in any truly significant way outside of box office receipts or Rotten Tomatoes.
Right.
Like so
or hurting the feelings of actors.
Or hurting the feelings. Well, that's that's pretty bad actually. But again,
but those are specific cases.
Small collateral damage compared to like anything else.
Right. Yeah, so eliminating political Twitter.
One quick second.
This is hold music.
Wait, let me. Sorry, like there was something I like in a DM that I just didn't want to leave on ignore too long.
Okay.
So it was like seemed like someone was having a little bit of meltdown or something. I don't know. So, but again, Twitter is like way too dramatic. People take it way too. Even me, people take it way too seriously. People take it way too and like get too emotional about it. It's like the reality is it's like, look. It doesn't matter in the real world for the most part, unless you make it matter. And outside political Twitter is a menace to society. Like Twitter, before politics mattered on Twitter, before all the political pundits and all the government officials, I wish government officials weren't on Twitter. I think government officials should be banned from Twitter.
Oof.
Yeah, there you go. Think about it. If it's just us regular civilians on Twitter, and government officials, think about it. How much better does life get if the government officials get off Twitter?
But how are they supposed to let the people know?
They can have a press conference. They're not lacking a platform to pretend these people lack a. We've had a democracy stand for 200 years without Twitter. It will be fine. Like it's like the Republic doesn't need Twitter.
So let's say, for example, you, regular Joe,
somewhat above average Joe,
is on Twitter, right? So above average Joe on Twitter.
Above average Joe on Twitter, right?
In 5 years, you decide to run for office. What happens? Does your Twitter shut down? Like you have to
I'm not allowed to. My Twitter is not allowed to be tied to my campaign, and it doesn't officially do anything. And I just get to exist. I could, in theory, exist as a person on Twitter, but not use it for political purposes. And that should maybe that should be what it is. Maybe that should be what it is. Or again,
who's monitoring that?
Or to be truthful, maybe my account, if I decide to run for office, maybe my account should be suspended until such time as I'm no longer serving in public office. Maybe it just freezes my account like that. And like the archive of my account sits there and that's just what it is. But I don't get the tweet. And I'm like, and the thing is, I would if I'm sitting there serving in public office, I shouldn't have time for Twitter, to be very real with you.
Yeah, but we all know that you aren't the one who's posting on Twitter. It's your social media management team.
Well, then that's definitely disingenuous at that point. So And again, that just depends on who you are. I genuinely
Mm,
believe AOC tweets for AOC.
yeah.
Um, like, and she should really just stop going back and forth with Elon because it really just looks like flirting at this point. It's
It
like,
looks like flirting.
I mean, for real, it's
I
just,
mean, I guess, some of us play hard to get.
I mean,
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like here's the thing. I mean, like you brought up a point, which was the fact that they
Katie
shouldn't have
Porter.
time to spend on Twitter,
Katie Porter does
right?
tremendous work for the Democratic Party, has actually passed legislation, and guess what? You almost never see her tweet.
Right. Well, that's the thing, right? So you're thinking. So what I was going to say was that, yeah, they shouldn't have the time to be on Twitter because
You should be
they're
doing your
out
damn job.
getting stuff done,
Right.
right? And then, I mean, this also kind of goes in hand with the idea of there being term limits,
Yeah. I mean,
because
why
then it's
sitting
like,
members of Congress should have limited they should have restrictions, term
yeah,
limits, age limits, and maybe they should have some limitations on their social media presence too. Like, because there's a difference between regular citizens having speech and them having platforms to talk over us because they already
right.
have enough
I
power
mean,
as it
there's already like the unspoken rule of like a CEO or somebody in a position of power, um, and how they portray themselves in the media, right?
Of
It's an
course.
unspoken rule of like,
It's not just
hey,
unspoken. Sometimes it's in the
well,
conditions. If
sometimes
you have board
it's
members,
right.
if you have board members and you're
They
accountable
have
to the shareholders in the board,
right,
oh yeah.
exactly. So, but what I mean by unspoken is that it's not a law, right? It's not
Uh,
really,
Not a
but
law, but company bylaw.
right, depending on the company.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's to say that there are there is that kind of expectation for people in power where they have to behave a certain way or um stay out of certain controversies or things like that, right?
Yes.
Where we're in a time right now where we do have people in power who are not doing those things, and
No. Yeah.
because of it things are said in the heat of the moment,
Yes.
um and that causes even more of a mess.
I agree. And the thing is, if people, especially people that are more like with the Democrat Party,
Mm,
like really feel that these social media platforms pose some clear and present danger to people's mental health, if they believe that it's divisive, if they believe in that it was instrumental in January 6th, which I think that was more like 4chan if we looked
mhm,
into it than Twitter.
right.
And so then that wasn't necessarily the former president. Like, I'm not saying he didn't say things or do things. I'm just pointing
Mhm,
out that the platform
yeah,
that you would put that to is like I think 4chan and 8chan
right.
more so than Twitter, because also it makes no sense to do certain things publicly in Twitter and then like literally be held accountable. Like, that's stupid. You
Mhm,
know, it'd be this niche corner of like the dark web types. It's the dark web types that you really have to. The real danger to society is not people tweeting in public or using the public platforms. The real danger is the dark web. And people,
mhm,
and the thing is, you almost never see a sitting member of Congress even acknowledge the dark web,
right.
which is really weird and really troubling. And the other
Mhm,
thing is, I'm like, okay, are you a sitting member of Congress or are you an influencer moonlighting or cosplaying as a member of Congress? Because the thing
right,
is, I see some of these politicians and I'm like, you're a social media influencer. You're not a sitting member of Congress. You're a
right,
social media influencer because you're spending much more time on these platforms than you are sitting in Congress.
right. It's a show.
Right. And the thing is, I know what it takes to produce a certain amount of content. I
Mm,
know what it takes to keep up with these platforms. And I'm like, oh, you are logging more hours. If we check your phone, you got more screen time on your phone in these apps than you do sitting in the halls of Congress. Guaranteed.
mm,
So, at best, a lot of our officials, at best, are part timing members of Congress and full time influencers at this point. And that should be very scary for anyone who actually says or yells or screams how much they care about democracy, care
mm,
about our democracy, care about the republic. Then you should be, yeah, really concerned that these people can't put the damn phone down and do their damn job. Because if you look around, people are very unhappy. Congress has the lowest approval rating that's had in the history of this entire country. It's it's ridiculous. And
mm.
it's like, well, if they would put the damn phone down and do their job, maybe that wouldn't be the case.
Right, yeah. I mean, there's they keep talking about And I mean they in like the general sense because you brought it up about social media and mental health.
Yeah. And
Um,
again, I hate politics. I'm bringing it up though because it's bleeding into they regulated crypto, and now
yeah,
they're coming for social media. That's why we have to talk about it because we can't
right,
escape them. And my thing is, we could never talk about them again
right,
if you delete political Twitter. If you
right.
delete political Twitter, we're saved. Because here's the thing,
Mm,
you know what's the ironically the place like the safest bastion for people's mental health now,
mm,
in my opinion, is YouTube and LinkedIn.
yeah, yeah, I could see that.
With YouTube, you could have pure escapism if you want and get away from this nonsense if you really want
The
to.
thing that I noticed about YouTube is that as soon as like you can manipulate the algorithm so quick. So like if I wanted to change what my home screen looks like, I just gotta watch 2 videos. I just gotta
Yeah,
watch 2
or you can
videos. Done.
clear your history, watch 2 videos, done. Clear my
Done.
history, watch
Start
2
getting
videos,
recommended
done. And if I
lo-fi.
say, don't recommend, it's gone. It's
It's gone.
gone. I'll never
Right.
see it again.
Yeah, so it's a lot easier to kind of escape from that if you have like the willpower and you actually want to stop watching
But it doesn't
consuming
even
that
require
content.
that much willpower, that's the thing, and it's great.
Well,
And
you
here's the
have
other
to acknowledge the fact that you don't want to see that content.
exactly, but
Yeah.
once you do,
But once you
the
do,
escape
it's
hatch
very
is
easy
like
to
you've
do.
launched the escape hatch. It's
Yeah.
you're out. Once you're out, you're out. That's the good thing about YouTube. Once you're out, you're out.
Right.
And the other thing is, with LinkedIn,
Mm.
everyone's a professional.
Yeah.
So now you can play if you want YouTube playground. You're on the playground, and then if
Mm.
you want to go to work,
Yeah.
you're on LinkedIn, and you can be a professional. You can network. It's
Mhm.
great. So you have I'm here to network. I'm here to get stuff done. It's great. And the thing
Yeah.
is, the app LinkedIn is not that addicting, and it's not that well designed to suck you in down a rabbit hole nearly as
Oh, it's
much.
horrible.
Yeah, exactly. So that means you use it. You use it as a utility.
Right.
And so it's not that distracting. It's not that distracting. I don't even think LinkedIn has a trending. So like, who cares? So it's a professional setup, and then you have YouTube. And so I feel like that's the most wholesome thing. Meanwhile, Snapchat, TikTok, disaster, and Twitter, it's been a hellscape. So and Tumblr is like, we shall not speak of it. Like, so and then the next worst thing is Reddit. Like, so there's
Yeah, dude.
in terms
Mm-mm.
of platforms, the best thing for
Yeah,
and then
Pinterest.
Instagram. Why would you go on Instagram and just go what you go? What are you gonna go on Instagram for? If you're at a certain level in your life and career, going onto Instagram is just going. Oh, I guess I'm poor.
Wow.
If you go on Instagram, all you're gonna do is go, oh, I'm poor, or you're gonna go, oh, I'm ugly. That's all it's
You're
gonna be.
not
You're gonna feel
wrong.
poor or ugly, or be like, oh God, I'm
You're
single.
not
You're gonna be
wrong.
like, I'm poor,
There's like
I'm
such
ugly,
a
I'm single. That's all Instagram is.
yeah, I mean, Instagram is all about making you feel like you're less than.
Yeah, facts. It's like
Um,
you like so if you're single, get off Instagram. If you're
yeah,
poor,
I mean,
get
that's
off
even
Instagram.
like
If you don't feel like you look good, don't get on Instagram.
that's even like if you're curating your content on
Yeah.
Instagram, I again, just to do a callback from before, I don't have Instagram on my phone and I use it a few times a week on the desktop because I do have people who DM me. Um, Very rarely do I ever find myself just sitting there scrolling through the feed, like the infinite scroll. I
Yep.
very rarely ever fall into that. Um, but even so, like every once in a while, there will be a post that pops up at the very top of the page unexpectedly when I load it. And it just sucks me in. And I'm just like, oh man, because it's like an instant because people are so worried about making their posts so perfect that it's like even if you follow like regular joes, it's
Mhm.
like you're still going to get that content
I
because
had
people want
to
it to look good.
I had to like aside from people I know or like people in my like circle from either photography or cosplay, I had to
Mm,
start unfollowing a bunch of these models because I'm like, wait a minute, why am I following all these models that I'm not going to go out with? Like what like I mean like seriously. Like and that's not just me downing myself, it's down
yeah,
just
no,
like
I get
I'm
that.
like okay, I'm like, wait a minute, do I know this person? It's like if I go and I see like, like they have an OnlyFans or something. I mean, they can do what they want, but it's like if we're not mutuals or I don't know them in real life, maybe I just need to unfollow them because I'm not going to really get involved with somebody like that in that situation because it's not going to be what I'm going to do. So, there's not
Yeah.
really a reason for me to give this attention. So, nope, unfollow. Like, da, 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 da. And the thing is, I know that some of this
Mm.
was wait. I followed these people before they started this way. Maybe they were doing something more taste because, like, I
Mhm.
follow a lot of local Atlanta
Right.
models for networking reasons and because
Mhm.
I for the other content I wanted to go do photo shoots and I'm going like, oh, I need to hire a model, pay for their time. Like, me and my sisters go out and we'll do a test shoot for the 85 millimeter lens, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, okay. So like I had some models, but now everyone's a model and an OnlyFans personality. And it's like, nope, like, you know,
Right. So like how I get by it, and this is like Will in the chat said that he only follows film photographers and skaters on
smart.
Instagram. Um, to each their own. It's like
Sure.
whatever you have to do to kind of avoid it. I follow dogs.
Oh, that's that. Yeah.
So I follow a lot of like Insta pets.
Instapets. Yeah.
So a lot of celebrity animals.
Yeah.
And because of it, so a lot of the ads that I get on Instagram are like for dog collars or like pet food because they think I love pets and then I own
That you own
dogs.
a dog. Yeah.
Um, so that's pretty funny. But even so, like I feel like there's still it still creeps in, like your friends or someone that
Oh,
like that you
yeah,
follow and
or,
stuff
like,
like
friend
that.
of a
It's
friend or something like that. Yeah. No, same thing with the, like I'm glad that, like, I see tech stuff and I see but it's like but the good news with the tech stuff is like, "Oh, cool, there's nothing left for me to buy, so it doesn't matter
mm,
that I'm seeing this." Like, I own everything, so it's like, "Okay,
right.
great." Like, but stuff like that, and it's like, ah the travel stuff doesn't bother me because I'm like, "Oh, cool,"
Mm.
or, "Oh, maybe I will go to that place." But the thing is, if I was making $30,000 a year again, like, scrolling through my feed would be depressing.
No, so the travel stuff is still like I had to unfollow for some stuff because it gave me anxiety because I felt like I would never get to see all the places that I wanted to see.
Yep,
Um, and that's kind of like a me problem, I guess, but,
sure.
like, I get that anyway,
But to be
but
fair but to be fair, you wouldn't have this thing being unsolicitedly thrown in your face at any given moment if
right,
it yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and so, like, now what I do is, like, I do follow still, like, some accounts, like, local restaurants or museums or, like, local accounts that are, talking about, festivals or things that are happening in the area, because those are things that I can immediately satisfy, and they're cultural experiences and they're IRL experiences that I can do immediately, and it's not some, like, big adventure that requires me getting on a plane or doing something like planning or things like that. It's like something that's like, "Oh, there's a festival that's happening 2 blocks from my house next week.
right.
Tight. I'm there." Right? And that's like I think it's really helpful to like kind of l- close the circle a little bit of like these kind of things and activities that I can do and what I follow on Instagram, right? Because then it mitigates that anxiety of, like, being unable
Yeah,
to do those things, right, that I wanna do.
agreed, agreed. I mean, it's the same. It's like, it's the
Mm.
same. And there's things that again you can't help. Like it's like, okay, if all your friends are getting married and having kids, you can't get around that one. Like that's like,
Yeah,
okay,
unfollow them.
no, you really can't. Like, but
Especially not if you get invited to the wedding or the baby
exactly. So
shower. Oh god.
exactly. So you can't get around that with the friends and the family and stuff like that. But it's one of those things where again, it's just like this. Oh,
Mm.
like Instagram is literally no matter what level you reach, it's a way to see that you're a have not. That's
Dude,
what it's become.
like, 100%. Actually, Christopher in the chat said do you wanna read Christopher's comment?
Yeah,
Because this is pretty
sure.
good.
Up and up. Instagram went from being a photography portfolio to being a cosmopolitan magazine. Agreed. Absolutely.
Facts.
Facts. And the thing is, even for me, it's like I'm like I have like for to get anywhere with Instagram, and I do for my business, my brand, and for sponsored
Mm.
content, I want to grow it more and get engagement, improve engagement, and stuff like that. Is I have to post either motivational content or lifestyle content or like tips and trick stuff. Like
Mhm.
my own photography gets me nowhere on Instagram. Like
Mhm.
as a like showcasing anything I do artistically gets me nowhere on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's all I have to teach people how to grow an audience, make money, motivate them in life, say something inspirational, or I have to show some aspect of my lifestyle and something to aspire
Yeah.
to appeal to the aesthetic and to the materialism of what people,
Same
and that's
thing
it.
was happening to me. Same thing was happening to me because, like, so
Only path to growth.
I got my start doing content creation online with photography, because I was posting stuff on Flickr, and that was, like, my
Same.
first taste of, doing content creation online. And I've been doing photography since I was a teenager, like, when I got my first camera. Um, and so getting on Instagram, I was like, "Great, awesome. This is gonna be Flickr 2.0." I was
Yeah.
wrong. I was so wrong.
No.
So, I mean, I started to post, like, my photography, like, I've gone back and forth, and then, like, I I even had, like, my mom, she was just like, "Why don't you post your photography to Instagram? You take such beautiful photos." And I'm just like, "Mom," because, like, I post, a beautiful landscape that I've taken a photo of, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. They just wanna see a picture of me having
Yeah.
fun at a place.
Yeah, the selfies, the lifestyle content, the selfies, yeah, it does better. It's like if like my God, like if I try, let me look at something I tried to shoot that I'm like
And if there's a
super
beach, forget it.
proud of.
Like, that's, like, it blows it out of the water. As soon as there's a beach.
I posted like some of the best wildlife photography I've ever taken,
Mhm.
and it got like 245 likes,
Yeah.
whatever. But that was months ago, months and months and months ago. I posted myself with my silver play button today, and it's got 306 likes. It's like that's disappointing. I've got the same amount of comments too on. I posted some of my best wildlife photography, and I've got the same amount of comments on a post I did today. Um, that's disheartening as hell from a creative standpoint.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
that would be the case. It
Yeah.
is what it is though. But it's like, man, that's how it is. Like Jesus Christ. That
Yeah.
just makes you feel like, especially again, I spent a lot of money on my camera lenses. I did all this cool stuff. I got
Yeah.
amazing shots of like gorillas and eagles and
I feel that.
vultures, and like
Mhm.
it's like that kind of hurts my heart a little bit. That's like I've got these wonderful exotic creatures captured in the moment of time, and like,
Mhm.
all y'all wanna do is, like, see me, like, pose with, like, my YouTube award. Like, that like, wow.
Dude, yeah.
Even when I do product photography of my tech
Mhm.
gear, I have some really good shots of, like, that like, 202 likes, which it's not nothing, and it's like, I appreciate it. It's like, I'm not saying here saying, "Oh, give me 1,000," like, but it's like, I have stuff like that, but it's like, okay, lifestyle content with me in front of, like, sitting in front of my widescreen monitor, 690 likes. I do art. I can't even break 300, but I'm gonna get like because again, it's
The
not
people
even
know
about
what they want, Roberto, and they don't
yeah,
want your art.
but it was the materialism. I will
Mhm.
say that there's like a few of my like art things, but I had to like practically rig it to get like close to that in numbers. But it's like the materialism does better. It's just like, and it kind of sucks to be honest. It's like it's kind of like disheartening that like if I post anything aesthetic of
Yeah.
like shots of like my desk and like all my
Oh, yeah, I
expensive
see
tech,
that.
like
Yeah.
boom,
Yeah, people love
that
that.
gets like yeah 500, 800 likes, like
Yeah, people love that. Yeah, Will's correct. Those posts don't even show up in everyone's feed who follows you. Especially in the last couple years where Instagram has revamped the way that their algorithm works and the way that the feed works. Uh, Quite honestly, so what happens is that when I first follow somebody, um, like if I meet someone and I follow them, I make sure to like a bunch of their recent posts. That way, Instagram immediately starts showing me their content on my feed, because if not, I will never see their content ever, and it will virtually be like I've not followed them. Um, And it just kind of sucks because most people don't know to do that sort of thing. And so
Yeah,
they'll follow you and they never see any of your posts.
facts.
Rip.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing is, that's why I also think that I think these algorithms are over optimized.
Hmm.
I think these algorithms are over optimized. I think that they're doing a little bit of the try hard thing a little too much when it comes to engagement, honestly.
Hmm.
Like, and because I feel like, well, like, how much of people's attention do you need to siphon? Like, do you have to go this far? Do you have to go this far? Can't you tone it down just a little bit? Can't you show more things based on interpersonal connection just a little bit? Like,
Yeah. What do you think of Christopher's theory in the chat? So Christopher said, I think it's due to Instagram gearing more towards being social networking and being Facebook 2.0, plus low key being a dating app rather than being a showcasing platform.
it is about, here's the thing, it is low key the best dating app in the world and everything like that. But what it does as a result of that is it makes people post very shallow content that's all about status. It's like, look,
Hmm.
it's about status. It's like, take pictures of the fancy things you own, take pictures of yourself in your nicest looking, most expensive or name brand clothing, or whatever makes you look the best, or whatever is the most scandalous, or maybe you wearing the least amount of clothing, whatever. Take pictures of your fitness workout, your washboard abs and everything, your tight body, whatever it is, your new implants, whatever it is. Or here's you traveling to this exotic place
Mm,
that brokies can't. Here's you with your fancy friends that these brokies will never meet. Like,
mm,
here's, and the thing is, so much of that can be contrived. So much of that can be contrived. If you live in
yeah.
Atlanta, or if you go to like Comic Con or New York Comic Con, San Diego Comic
Mm,
Con, Dragon Con here in Atlanta, and you said you scrounged up $500 to $1,000, you can get enough celebrity selfies to be able to post one or two celebrity selfies a month for a year to fill out your Instagram to make it look like you're somebody more important than you actually are. So you
mm,
could do that. If you wanted to, you could scrounge up some money again and you can rent a very expensive car to pose with. You can, it's not that expensive to travel to, if you wanted to, you can max out a credit card. And in a year, if you max out a credit card for less than $10,000, you can go to Greece. You can go to um what's another, you can go to Greece, you could go to Paris,
mm,
and you could probably go to Hawaii. All, you could do a week of each of those places and max out a $10,000 credit card and pay it off later, and you'd be able to curate your feed for a year off of 3 trips to
yeah.
make yourself look a lot more fancy than you actually are and than you could afford to be.
Yeah.
And you could grow your Instagram off of this, and you could get brand deals off of this and then pay down your card. And that's what a lot of people do. You can be like, people are fake influencers in the sense of they are contriving a lifestyle that they don't have in terms of lifestyle content. They can rent a few Airbnbs to look like they aesthetically are living a lifestyle and stuff like that. And people don't know, have
Mm,
to know what neighborhood or thing they live in. And it wouldn't matter. They could also stay with a relative who has a more expensive lifestyle than them, and they could flex off of that. So, like, it's
mm,
actually not that difficult with a few credit cards and a little bit of cash on hand to give yourself 1 to 2 years to build this aesthetic profile that suggests to people that you're a bigger baller than you are. And the thing is, people fake that, and then they get access to places they wouldn't get otherwise, and then they end up being able to build that lifestyle off of the initial investment that they fronted. And that's, and I've seen people do it. I've seen people do it. Now, me, I was one, I would have never thought of that at the time. And I was too broke for that. So I wasn't going to do that.
yeah.
And I don't believe in debt. So, like, I would, like me, I own my fancy things.
Mm.
Like, that's, and me, your boy's a hermit. If I travel, they're paying me to travel. Your boy's a hermit.
I the idea of Instagram being used as a dating app is
Because it's a status thing. Because dating is no longer about relationships, it's about status. Tell me I'm wrong. Modern dating is no longer about relationships or connections, it's about status.
no, I'm just disappointed.
So you can't refute what I'm saying, you just wish it wasn't true.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
But also, like, how's this working? Are people just like
It's
DMing
not.
people on
Yes.
Instagram? Like, what's
Yes. That's how it is. That's where the whole slide into the DMs thing is from. That's where like that's how it is.
I see.
But it's like so shallow. It's so vapid. Everything has just become the worst version of high school. That's what happened. What happened is all these platforms
I
became the
mean, don't
worst
get me
version.
wrong. Like, people meet people, and it's just like it happens. But I guess like if you're using it as like a, I mean, but if you're using it like intentionally to date somebody, it
But no,
seems
that's
like.
literally what that's what most people, even normies. In fact, it's mostly normies that do this. It's mostly normies that do this. Talk to anybody that's still in college or in high school, and you'll
Mhm.
find out that their ability to be dateable is predicated on their Instagram feed. Even in high school. Even in high school. I'm not even joking. I wish I was. I wish I
I don't
was.
know
But I
if
have
I don't know
friends
if
who have
high
kids.
schoolers should be on
I have friends.
Instagram.
I have I wouldn't want like I have friends who have kids in high school, and this is the reality. I have
And they're
friends
on
who have
Instagram.
yeah, yeah. And we've met kids in Clubhouse that just graduated and went to college, and they told us the same thing, remember? Like Jordan.
Right. Okay. So it just feels so. Anyway, I don't know. That's a story for another day.
Yeah, but it's like, but these platforms, the thing is, these platforms are terrible for us as adults, but they're worse for the young people. They're much worse because again, it makes them care more about social status than they ever should, and it makes them care less about character and about reality
Mm,
and these things. And everything is about what can I do to make myself relevant? What can I do to make myself a higher social status? What can I do to get my follower account up? What can I do to be at the level of status to where you find me acceptable? Whereas back in our day, there was it was a similar game being played, but at least you had to have a real world accomplishment. And that was, okay, aside from being tall or pretty or handsome or whatever, you could like, you know what, if I am like, if you join ROTC, then
mhm.
you're going to get respect because you're going to be in uniform. If you join a sports team, you're going to have a letter jacket and you're going to get respect from that, and you're going to have status from that, and then that's going to increase your social standing and you can go to the parties and whatnot. Like, because then even if you're not attractive, what people
Mm,
respect is you're repping the school colors, you're on a team, you're talented enough, you're good enough, and stuff like that. To some extent, even if you got good grades and you're
yeah.
nerd, but if you do that and you take it and say, well, you're on the quiz bowl team, you're on the debate team, you're on the this, you're on the that, you're in the marching band, whatever, as long as you, because there was a such thing as school pride. Even among
Right.
normies, there was like oh, you rep the school colors. It's like it was an us versus them game against the other schools. So there's still school
Right.
pride
Sure.
because there's tribalism, because it's like, oh no, it's like you rep the colors. It's all good. You're hey, can't mess with you because you have your marching band friends. You have a group, you have a social acceptance, you have a tier. So it's like, okay,
Mm,
you belong. And oh well, respect. You play an instrument, that's talent, respect. Okay.
mm.
That's how it is. You had to do something to earn your respect. And it was if you didn't have something, you had no status. And if you had no status, you didn't get anything. And that's how high school was. I mean, am I misquoting?
No, I feel like there was definitely more of a competitive and
Tribalistic.
tribalistic, but people were more proud. Um,
Yes. But at least it also, you had to do something. You had to actually do something.
mhm.
With social media, you have to look like you're doing something, and it can be faked. Back in the real
Right.
world, you couldn't fake there was a point where
It's
you could not really fake these things.
right. It's so easy to do. It's incredibly easy to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Like me, I do everything the hard way. I actually do
yeah.
the things instead of faking the things. I actually do it's like my accomplishments with me, it's like, as you all know, I had to do real world things. Like I had to like write an actual book. I had to build an actual business that makes money.
Yeah.
I had to do most of my stuff was in client services. So like, there's nothing wrong with digital products, but literally no one can make the claim that, oh, you made most of your money selling courses or this or that. Not yet. In the future, okay, maybe. And so what? But I did it because I actually built systems and I did consulting and coaching, and I was backed by the platforms themselves at that point. So I would have the right to do that. That's the future. But like, at this point, I've made all my money doing actual client work. Everyone can sell their time. An OnlyFans model can sell their time. I could sell my time. Like, so like, I can charge for my time too. I can charge for a 90-minute session too. There's so you know, it's hard to argue with that. It's like, well, people paid it and they were happy, so it's whatever. But I also have physical and digital products. I actually have a client list. I actually have customers. So there's like a legitimate business behind what I do beyond just social media influence. But there's nothing wrong with being a content creator. It's just that if you tried to say, well, what do you have to show for yourself, bro? My stuff is actually still kind of old school in the sense it's tangible. I use digital to scale old school. The new thing for status, though, is it's all born and bred on the internet and not always off of anything real, which is really weird. And that's a whole new world that we're living in. And it's very interesting in terms of the status games that are played with these social media platforms and the pecking order. It's so interesting. And it's interesting because if you go into the mental health conversation around these platforms, like we talked about with like Instagram being very bad for it now, Twitter, TikTok, the distraction. Like I said, like YouTube and LinkedIn are probably the most benign, but also the most profitable out of everything. It's just really interesting the place that all this has got to. And the thing is, I think the more it becomes part of youth culture, the more dangerous that becomes for them, because I think it creates this reality distortion because everything they consume could be faked.
Right. And a lot of it is.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is. It really is. There is a, like, I think there's less of, because, you know, we talk about this sometimes. I think the fake guru problem might be exaggerated, but the fake influencer problem is not, which I think is
it's
actually
even worse.
I was about to say that. I think it's worse, and I think it's a bigger problem. I think the fake influencer problem, because I think the cultural relevance of it, because like, look, a fake guru has a very minimal pool of people they can finesse money out of or whatever, and there's actually not that many of them. But everyone wants to be an influencer, and most people are willing to fake it at this point because they're young and they're craving attention and
there's a lot
status and
more of
validation.
them too. There's a lot
And there's
more
of
them
them.
too. And I think it's easier
And
to
it affects very young people, because the thing is, they're not asking for money, even not from them. They're asking for attention, which is actually worse.
It's easier to look at someone and see that they're saying that they're an expert at something than
And
it
say, oh,
is
that's BS.
to just see somebody else that's just like a regular person holding up, you know, sunscreen.
I think lifestyle and cult of personality is more dangerous, that because like you're right. You can smell BS.
They're manipulating the market. They're manipulating.
I think that you can smell BS. And the thing is, I don't think the consequences of manipulating a handful of people out of money are as dangerous as the consequences of influencing the lifestyle of a lot of young people.
Of the generation.
And cultural, I think that cultural influence, ideation, ideology, cultural impact, lifestyle, day-to-day at scale of attention. I think that's much more dangerous, much more prevalent, and much harder to suss out whether before it's too late.
Yeah.
And someone trying to finesse you on $1,000 course, because most people don't have the money.
Right, because most people aren't going to do that. And then also, like, we've seen so many of them in the past.
And they can also just charge back the thing, no harm, no foul.
Right.
It's not about the problem with the free stuff is if it's free, you're the product.
Right. And when you're looking at these gurus, right, you already are in that mindset of like, you've put up a wall and you're like, oh, hey, like, I don't know if I actually trust this person. I need to do research, right? As opposed to like, if you just see like a girl holding up like a thing right on Instagram, then you're just like, oh, she's just like a regular girl who likes the product. It's
and
like,
they're also really abusing the not disclosing their sponsored thing.
Yeah, that is still a really big problem. I feel like in the last like 2 years, they've been able to fix some of it, But it's still such a huge thing where you just, like, scroll by and it's just very clearly
Mhm.
an ad, but most people can't tell.
Oh, here's what's really bad, Romina.
Mm,
Okay, let's say you get swindled by a fake guru, you charge back your credit card. So what? You wasted a couple of hours and you were without money for a little bit of time. But if you fall for like a fake beauty guru, you
mm,
end up consuming some kind of tummy tea or something like that, you could have real health repercussions for that. You
right,
end up falling for a fitness influencer, you could live a very unhealthy lifestyle that destroys your body as a result of trying to diet like them or do what they say because they're not a nutritionist. Like
right.
that's much more dangerous. It's not even close. It's not even close. You could even with a dating coach or something like that, you could
Mhm,
end up becoming this really shallow, vapid, toxic person having completely empty, meaningless relationships and really do some emotionally scarring harm to the people that you're dating.
mm,
Like that's infinitely more dangerous. That's infinitely more dangerous and more worrisome at scale than like people selling courses. And it's not even close. And it's overlooked because they're not asking for your money, they're only asking for your mind. And that's
mm,
like what's scary to me is if you're not giving people if you're not giving people your money, well then you're the product. And if you're the product, then they're not taking your money, they're taking your mind.
yeah,
And that's scary. That's scary. And the thing is, it's getting younger and younger and younger. And no one really is taking it
yeah,
seriously in terms of how the repercussions of this that we're gonna have to like study and look at this
mm.
for another 10, 20 years of how bad it was.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we have to use, like, a entire generation or 2 as guinea pigs.
The case study is gonna be but it's gonna be pretty horrific what the
We
like
gotta do
reading the
it. I mean, what you know?
hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, gotta get the data.
Like, well, here's the thing. A lot of these people will not admit that
Yeah.
like a lot of people will claim that we know certain things, but it's like, no, we're
Mm,
doing the testing in real time. There is no long-term case study on any of this.
yeah,
All these social things that people are doing, there's no long-term case study on anything because it hasn't been relevant and scaled long enough for them to act like they have so much certainty. They're
right.
guessing. They're guessing with people's lives while convincing them that they're an authority on something. They're
Mhm.
guessing. There's another thing that recently happened where people were just guessing and we can't really talk about it because we like having our platforms. But you get what I'm saying. It's like
Right.
there's a lot of experts that are guessing. And the thing is, nothing has been going on long enough to know anything. And if they would just admit that we don't know what we don't know and enough time hasn't passed for us to know anything, then we'd be in a better place. Healthy skepticism is fine. I'm one of the people who gives cynicism and skepticism a hard time, but I'm like, there's a dose of it that's healthy, more than
Right.
healthy. And I'm okay with that. But it's like people should be willing to admit that they don't know what they don't know, and that hey, that something hasn't existed or been around or been scaled or popular enough or mainstreamed enough for
Right.
us to really see what the long-term implications are. Here are
Right.
what some of them could be. Here's what our best guess is. Here's what we are hoping it is. But
Mm,
no, but the reality is we won't know for a long time, but it could be bad.
right.
Here's how bad it could be. That would be fair.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's science in a nutshell, but it's having that perspective is hard to do right now because of the fact that we do have so many people online who are saying that this is the way that things are, and that are presenting these hypotheses as fact. And so it makes it really difficult to challenge that. Um,
There's a quote from a book I read. It's from one of the Sword of Truth novels by Terry Goodkind.
mhm.
Always trust those who seek the truth, but rarely those who claim to have found it.
Yeah. Do you want to
I'll
say that
trust a
again?
seek. Yeah. Always trust those who seek the truth, but rarely those who claim to have found it.
Yeah.
I can trust a curious person that asks questions and asks them from a place of genuine curiosity and a desire to seek truth and to understand. I can trust someone who says, I don't know and I want to understand, and that's why I'm asking these questions. And I think that that's been discouraged. I think that questioning has been discouraged. I think that
Yeah.
that's a big problem. And I think that that's what I can trust. I can trust someone who says, I don't know everything. I don't claim to know everything, but I'm seeking the information. I have some thoughts on it. I
Yeah.
can tell you what I've experienced, but that's, that's what it is. But someone who says, I have the truth, you should immediately be suspicious. And you should ask
Oh,
them,
yeah.
how do you come by that truth? How do you come by that truth? What can you present to
No, but
verify the
just even
claims that you're
asking
making?
that question is problematic.
Oh, God.
Well, I'm just saying the truth.
You're not wrong.
No,
You're
I'm
not
not.
wrong. You're
I'm
not
saying the
wrong.
truth.
We can see it with our own eyes that that's the case, and that's annoying.
Mm.
It's annoying as hell, though. It's because it puts anyone who has a genuine desire for knowledge and for understanding in a very terrible situation.
Mm.
And it stunts growth of people who would get to the place of being genuinely intellectually curious. It stunts their growth and it stunts their ability to comprehend and understand, but also then uses the authority fallacy to be able to dictate things without having to verify your claims, and because your authority is the verification. And that's like, that's not reasonable. That's not a reasonable place for us to be in. And it feels very uncomfortable, and I would say like disingenuous for that to be the case, and for people to simultaneously claim any kind of moral victory while operating from that stance.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the truth should be something that we can observe, measure, and verify independently. And if it's not those things, then its claim of truth is dubious at best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I mean, how can I understand something if I can't observe it, measure it,
Yeah.
and independently verify it?
But also having enough variable in the data too.
Sure. Like
Right.
enough to compare to? Sure.
Yeah.
But what is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's incontrovertible. See, that's
Right.
the thing. The very nature of truth itself is incontrovertible.
Yeah.
What is. No contradictions can actually exist in reality. They can exist in the context of conversation. Contradictions can exist. Contradictions are a contrivance of humanity. They don't exist within nature. They're unnatural. Like, contradictions are unnatural. You will not find an existing contradiction that was contrived by nature, only contrived by man.
Yeah.
Nothing in nature is allowed to contradict itself.
Mm-hmm.
What is. What exists. That's it. It's fairly binary. But, the mind of man can contrive and can conceive of a contradiction because that's where imagination lies. But imagination can exist outside the realm of truth.
Right.
I mean, to some extent, that's the entire point. Because with imagination combined with effort, you can make something true because you can invent something. So, I mean, there is that. That's like, that's what innovation is, really. That's what innovation is.
Right.
It's a way of saying, I don't like the way that things
The way
are
that it
as they
is.
currently exist. Therefore, I will manifest something that doesn't currently exist that then changes the scope of reality.
Right.
And the thing is, I'm good with that. Like, I'm like, if people want to make something that makes the world different than it is, that's fine. I don't believe in portraying a falseness that distorts reality. Because I think that weakens you. I think that in fantasy and literature, they have a concept where they want to preserve truth because they believe that interjecting a falsehood into the lore or the story of the world actually weakens the ability to combat the forces of chaos. They believe that lies and falsehood enable and empower the forces of chaos, and that the forces of order are powered by maintaining and preserving the truth and respecting it and not speaking a falsehood. And that when you do, then you're diluting the power of reality as it currently stands and allowing a distortion that lets the forces of chaos that can manipulate things and change things. That's why in a lot of stories, what you'll find is that when like an agent of chaos or like a monster or a demon wants to manipulate the world or conquer the world, what do? They interject falsehoods, or they distort people's history, or they rob them of their history. They distort the lore. They make sure you don't know where things are on the map, or they change something's name, or they pit people against each other. They like it's what they do. And it works because the most powerful weapon and ally that people have is the truth. Because there's nothing more fundamentally powerful than reality itself.
Right.
But the thing is, people who can't cope with reality want to distort it. Well, then they become agents of chaos, and they become servants of the chaos. And the thing is, that's a threat to what exists.
Right. Now, where does the discrepancy lie between innovation and being an agent of chaos?
I would say that probably starts. That's a very good question. I would say it starts with things like a combination of first principles, but also your values and your objective. Like if your objective is genuinely the betterment of people, the betterment of people doesn't exist outside of the realm of truth, number one. So the thing is, you can't claim to want to better people and lie to them at the same time, because that's not in their interest. That's not truly in their interest. You have to come up with a distortion. You have to lie to yourself to believe that. You have to lie to yourself to believe that people are better off operating from a falsehood instead of a truth. Armed with the knowledge and reality, and like it's better for people to become strong enough to cope with reality than them to have to lie and cope by vis-a-vis delusion, right? It's better to accept reality as things are, have the strength to cope with it, than to tell people a comforting lie that won't allow them to overcome adversity. It's better for them to be armed with the truth. Primary example is it better for me to lie to somebody because of the risk that they might become demotivated, or is it better for me to tell them the truth, but to tell them the truth in a way that empowers them and gives them something actionable that they can do that will make them better and will mean that they are going through less hardship because they know how to act and how to defend themselves? Is it better for me to pat you on the head and tell you everything you want to know is everything is going to be okay as a small YouTuber? Or is it better for me to be realistic about, well, let's see how much time freedom you really have. Let's understand that the person that you admire has, compared to you, unlimited time, unlimited resources. So don't beat yourself up about it. It's not reasonable to be in their position. That's a comforting truth. That's not a harsh punching you in the face truth, discouraging you truth. It's just like, no, here the gap exists. The gap that exists between you is a reality. But here's the other thing. It is possible to accomplish more than you have with what you have where you are. It won't be what they have, but what's so wrong with doing the best that you can and then moving up and up and up from there to the best of your ability? Let's see where you can go given what you have to work with. You don't have their circumstances, so why would you expect to have their outcomes? Let's go. Let's deal with what the things are. That's much better. That's much better. So you have to, so when you make things or you do things, even with me with coaching, it's like I have to come up with, all right, what's a realistic framework for a working class creator? What is a realistic position? What's a realistic frame to tell a working class creator how YouTube works? What's reasonable to tell them, like, here's what is required of you to get to here, but here is what the measurement of success in a reasonable way is. Let's address that the limitations that you have. Let's not ignore them. Let's not ignore them because they're uncomfortable. Well, they're your reality, but it doesn't mean there's nothing we can do. So let's do what we can. Let's do what we can. And I mean, so to your point, to not be an agent of chaos, you have to operate with truth and integrity. You have to operate from a good value system with the truest intentions of helping people, and understanding that helping people, you can't really do it by lying to them.
Mhm.
It's not real help. It's
Right.
not the best thing for them. And if you try to convince yourself of that, you're lying to yourself now too.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Honesty.
yeah. So the foundation of honesty,
Mm.
integrity, genuine forthrightness, a sincere desire to see people do well. Those are the foundational principles I believe in being able to innovate without being an agent of chaos.
Mhm.
I think that, by the way, chaos does have its place in the natural realm. And the thing is, creativity somewhat is linked to that force, but it doesn't have to be the dominant force. You can still approach your creativity in an orderly way that doesn't disrupt natural principles and laws and doesn't exist in a realm outside of truth, but a desire to make the things that you want truth,
Mhm.
the truth. You can, like, if you have the desire to get 100,000 subscribers, 1 million subscribers, it's not true now, but it's a truth that you want to exist. It's a reality that you want to, it's a world you want to see. So the thing is, if you're willing to operate with integrity to make that belief or that desire into your reality, that's fine. That's not you distorting reality or being agent of chaos, because
Yeah.
you can only, if you're doing it forthrightly, you can only achieve it by creating value.
Mhm.
Now, if you decide to do it without integrity, you're an
Right.
agent of chaos.
Yeah. Unless you create your own reality where you are acting out of integrity.
Well, the thing is, it's like what people will do
Mm.
in that situation is they will move the goalpost and distort the
Mm.
word integrity
Mhm.
to suit themselves. They
Right.
will distort what good is and being forthright, and they will distort those things to suit themselves. They will
Mhm.
distort what is acceptable and what is, like, noble to suit themselves instead of just adhering to what is.
Absolutely. Mhm.
Like, you can justify or rationalize anything, but
Mm.
that just makes you a liar. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
Right.
oh, it'll be fine. It's like, I mean, you can look to a lot of
Sure.
disgraced influencers and you can see how they told themselves a story in their head that would make it okay to do what they were going to do.
Right.
And then you can see
And
how
then
that
we've
worked out.
seen, yeah. Yeah.
F
That
around and
that
find out.
yeah, that kind of personality trait, if you will. Plus social media is a very dangerous weapon for a
Facts.
lot of people. I think this is a pretty good place to wrap up.
Fair enough.
I know we were going to talk about, I mean, last week I think we mentioned something about self-love
I
and
think
stuff like
that
that,
I would like to do that when Audrey gets back.
but we can talk about that in the future.
Sure.
But I wanted to bring it up because I know we mentioned that we were going to do that last week. And
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
no, it's a good place to bookmark it. I mean, do you have a closing thing or remark or whatever?
Yeah, Twitter's better than Instagram.
It's pretty close, but yeah, it's pretty
Hot
close, but
take.
yeah,
Hot take.
that's a hot take. But I mean, but I'll allow it. It's like it's. I could like look. You
Look, I'm
can
not gonna
curate
exit this
Instagram. I'm sorry.
episode without a
No,
bang. It's
no,
gotta
like
I gotta
yeah,
make somebody
Bruh.
angry.
Bruh.
but you can curate Twitter just enough to not feel sad when you open it.
You're right.
Whereas with Instagram, it like that's hella hard. So I'll allow it.
Yup. Started with a bruh, ended with a bruh.
Yep, indeed. Anyway, thank you for listening to No Southern Required Podcast, a podcast where we talk about nothing. Tune in next week where we'll regale you with yet another set of exciting topics and plenty of banter. This has been your duo of hosts, Romina with the good hair, little RedRomina actually, and your dark lord of the interwebs, Roberto Blake. We'll catch you next week, everybody. Nope.